Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to be trying out a Wabi Sabi craft kit that my dad got me for my birthday a few months ago before our trip to Japan. Wabi Sabi is a kind of a worldview that's centered on the acceptance of transience and imperfection. So nothing is perfect and nothing lasts forever, and that's what makes it beautiful. The words have changed their meaning over the years, but wabi now means simplicity or an understated elegance, but also the quirks and anomalies of a construction process that adds uniqueness to an object. And sabi means the beauty that comes from being able to see the age of an object, so the wear and tear or visible repairs. And you can see in this image of a plate that I saw in the Tokyo Museum, the way that they have glued or stuck back together the plate really highlights the breaks, and they're not trying to hide the repair, they're trying to emphasize it, because that uniqueness and that imperfection is what makes it beautiful. So I'm just opening up the box and just taking everything out. So we've got the instructions and gloves, and then you get your vase. So basically what it is a vase that's in a cloth bag, so you can't see what the vase is before you smash it. So then you smash the vase, paint it, and then glue it back together, and then you should have something really unique and different, definitely. It comes with instructions, but they were in Romanian, so I did have to do a bit of Google translation on them first, but like I said, it is pretty simple. So I took it outside and dropped it on the ground, and that did do the trick of smashing up the pieces. And then I cut the bag open and then pulled the pieces out, and about halfway through doing this I realized that I did actually have the gloves to wear, so I put those on to try and protect my hands, but they made my hands really hot, so I actually took them off pretty quickly after I started wearing them. So I just got all the pieces out of the bag. I took out all the big pieces, but what I did find right away is that there were lots of little tiny shards of broken ceramics that I didn't really want to paint or get involved with, so I just left those in the bag. I then got the paints out that came with the set. They're not the greatest paints ever, I would say, but I'm also not the greatest painter ever, and I also used the paintbrush that came with the paints. I do have some paintbrushes, but I've kind of destroyed them over the years, and so I just used the little one that came in the kit, which was a little bit twisted up, but I went with it. I decided to just stick to a colour palette of just a few of the colours, so I got those out to begin with, and then I did one colour at a time. So starting with the red, I just went through and painted some red on all of the pieces. I went for an abstract look because obviously when I stuck the pieces back together again, it was going to be really hard to join up an actual image and make it make sense. Although that is kind of part of the appeal, I suppose, of Wabi Sabi, that even if it doesn't join up, even if it doesn't create that perfect image, it still could be beautiful because of the imperfections. But I am not the greatest artist. I think I'm quite creative, but in terms of actually painting and drawing something that looks good, that's not necessarily my strength. So I went with more of an abstract approach, and like I said, I started with all the red, and I just went through and put some kind of random shapes on all of the big pieces in the red, and then it did dry down pretty quickly, so then I was able to move on to the other colours. My battery kind of stopped at this point, I think, or my memory card filled up, I can't quite remember, so we've sped forwards to me already having put on some of the other colours. And I have gone over, so I've put like polka dots and stripes and things in one colour over the top of the painting that I'd already done. I did find that some of the paints worked better than others. So the red worked quite well. I think the green was a little bit less opaque. This teal colour that I'm using now was definitely my favourite. It was just really thick and opaque, and I just really liked the colour. I wish I'd used more of it. Like, I wish that was the first colour that I'd used. But there were parts of the vase which seemed like they weren't really taking the paint very well. It almost seemed like they were a little bit waterproof, and I don't know if they've had some coating. It had some coating put on it, but there was just little odd patches where the paint wasn't really taking very well, and I just had to go over and over and over it. But it still just didn't work out. Whereas there was other bits where it painted out really nicely, and I got a nice thick opaque coat pretty easily. Again, I think that's just kind of perhaps that it's not the highest quality fits that you get in the kit. Then it was like a jigsaw puzzle, putting the pieces back together. They do give you this little thing of glue. So once I got the glue open and got it coming out, it actually worked pretty well. It was basically just like PVA glue really, and I just went around the edges and put them back together, and I held them together for a little bit, but they weren't too bad at sort of sticking themselves together and staying up. I started with the base, and then I did the big pieces around the side as well. And I tried to pick that up to show the camera, and then it all fell to pieces. One thing I did notice, that even though I'd waited a whole day before I started gluing it together to make sure the paint was dry, and once it started getting glue on it, it all started coming off onto my hands. So I smudged some of the painting on the actual vase, and then I also got kind of messy hands. But that to me seems like a bit of a design flaw perhaps in the set. Don't know what you think. I'm not an expert painter, as already as is pretty obvious from the results, I think. Yeah. There was a moment very early on in when I was making this when I realised that I really didn't know at all what I was doing and just kind of went with it, and this is the result. You know, you might think that it looks like something a drunk toddler put together, but I think that it's Wabi Sabi beautiful. I don't really want it out on display in my home, but this is the finished product. There are still massive chips and holes. There's an actual hole in it because there were pieces of the pot that I just didn't stick back together because they would have been too small and too fiddly. And obviously none of the paint job really matches, and yeah, I don't really know what to do with it now. I think the concept of Wabi Sabi is a really nice and interesting one. I think that it works really well when you see these beautiful plates that have then been glued back together with that kind of gold delicate glue. I also think that if you drop a plate or a cup and then you make a big deal out of the repair and the join and you don't try and hide it, that could be quite fun. But I think this kit kind of misses the mark because it gives you quite a plain vase that you then smash on purpose, and then you paint it before you glue it back together, and then you don't really make an emphasis of the joins, you just kind of paint it. And then I don't know what to do with it now because there's big holes in it. So I'm not entirely convinced by this kit. But anyway, if you've tried this or anything like this, please leave a comment letting me know. If you like the video, please give it a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe, and enjoy the rest of your day.